All right, so we're now getting into quadratic functions. Quadratic functions, you've seen them in what we just covered in polynomials. They are the ax squared plus bx plus c, or any function that has an ax squared. So this would be our standard form right here, the ax squared plus bx plus c, where a does not equal 0. So anything from 0.00001 and even smaller than that, but as long as it's greater than or less than 0, but it cannot equal 0. Okay, this form is just called standard form, and then you're going to see them in different ways. One, where it's just a monomial, so there's only one term in this case, but it does still have the x squared, so it needs to have the x squared, but y equals 5x squared. Or there's the y equals x squared plus 7, where there is no b term. And then the final one is where there is a b, and c term. So those are all the quadratic functions or types that you'll see. Now, a quadratic function, it makes a parabola or the U-shape kind of graph here. Okay, and the axis of symmetry, that's going to be where if you were to split it in half, it would be a mirror image of itself. And what you notice on this one here, that mirror image is right on the y-axis, or where x equals 0, kind of however you want to notify that. But that is your axis of symmetry. Just going to do axis of sim. Okay, and then the other part of the parabola that's important is the vertex. The vertex is going to be the lowest point or the highest point on the graph. It's going to be where either the parabola kind of peaks at top if it's in a mountain, or the lowest it gets if it's in a bowl shape. So your vertex is right here. In this case, it is 0, 0. And that's our vertex. Okay, so quadratics are going to deal with parabolas, and as we're kind of looking at how the graphs of these parabolas are going to look, there's a couple things to note. One, is it going to be a maximum or a minimum? So minimum right here states that your a value is greater than 0, meaning that it's going to be a bowl. It opens up. Okay, so that'd be any positive a term. You're going to have a minimum value where the lowest point is going to be at the bottom of the bowl. A maximum vertex is going to be when your a value is negative, so less than 0. That's going to be the mountain. So if you look down here, this green graph and this black graph, those are maximums because their a term are negative values. Okay, and so I'm going to zoom in on this graph right here. So as you can see, I've graphed these using Desmos. So this one goes to the red line, this one goes to the blue line, green line down here, purple line up here, and then black line right here. Okay, and what you notice, the vertex on all of these, or sorry, the axis of symmetry on all of these is going to be the y-axis. And so any quadratic function that has no b value, the axis of symmetry is always going to be the y-axis. So that's going to be the axis of symmetry. Okay, and additionally, with the exception of the black and the purple, all of them have the same vertex right here at 0, 0. So the vertex for any quadratic that has no b or c value is always going to be 0, 0. So now if ever you're given a quadratic function and asked to determine if it is a maximum or minimum, and what the vertex is. If it is positive a, it's always going to be a minimum. If it's a negative a, it's going to be a maximum. So going back to this right here. And then to find the vertex, if it doesn't have a B or a C, the vertex is always going to be 0, 0. And you just note as parentheses 0, comma 0, parentheses. Okay, and if you notice here, then when we add the negative 2 and the plus 2, so the C value, now that changes the vertex. It moves it up or down. When you add 2, it moved it up 2. And when you minus 2, it moved it down 2 right here. So that is 0, negative 2. And then this one right here is 0, 2. So if you'll notice that the vertex is just going to come into play, it's always going to be 0, 0 unless you have a C value. And then, or if there's a B value, then that changes it completely. But for right now, what we're going to be dealing with, it's going to be 0, 0, or our vertex is going to be 0 for our x. Because when x equals 0, you're on your y-axis, which is our axis of symmetry. And then the C value actually gives us the y coordinate.